Good morning, my friends. Welcome to Living Interfaith Sanctuary. Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that I'm currently seated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I know that many of you are on the land of other nations, so if you'd like, please feel free to write those nations' names in the chat. Always let us remember our connection to our siblings in these nations, and let us work and pray towards the day in which we might be all together in right relationship. And let it begin here. Welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome. You are not asked to leave who you are in your own home. Please bring who you are in with you into this community today. But we are also asked to remember that others here today brought who they are into this community with them as well. And all of goodwill are welcome. So we're going to introduce a new element into this service. We have two new things today. We're going to begin with a grounding kind of meditation / prayer. We're going to experiment with this over the next little while and see how it goes. But I just want to invite you to follow along with my voice as I guide us today in this next couple minutes. I just want to invite you, first of all, to just become conscious of your body and space and time. You can lower your gaze or close your eyes, whatever feels right to you. And just invite some breath into your body with a little bit more intention than it was just moments before. Whatever that is for you, how deep that may feel, how wide that may expand. And just allow yourself to settle into a rhythm of being aware of your breath. Just invite you, as your breath becomes your focus, your sense of presence, to be aware of yourself in shared space here with others. Be noticing if there's space to open up your heart in your mind's eye, inviting in space with spirit, to extend your arms out, reaching for the hands of others sitting together in this virtual space. Know that we are sharing this space together with the intention of raising our collective care, compassion, unification, healing, nurturance, liberation, and peace for all. And that joining together here in the space of interfaith is an invitation and an action, that your arms are reached out to embrace those around us. Bless this time we have together. Bless the energy that it creates in the moment, but also leading forward into our day, weeks, months ahead. What the Creator has in store for us, we don't know. But maybe remember that we are always held in each other's arms, clasping hands, returning to community when we need it. Bless this time we have together. Now I invite you to take a nice deep breath in as we conclude this meditation. Letting your shoulders rise up and then rolling back and down. Maybe one more time, one more shoulder lift up with inhale. And exhale, virtually squeezing the hands of those around you. All right, thank you. Welcome back into the space. All right, now I want to invite Bruce and Cheryl to guide us in our opening songs. We'll keep ourselves muted, but feel free to join from the peace of your own home.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of healing, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever
Thank you. All right, we'll begin with some announcements today. First of all, just acknowledging that in Canada on Monday, September 30th, we'll be honoring National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, which is also the theme of today's talk. This significant event is a public commemoration of the tragic and painful history in Canada and the ongoing impacts of multi-generational survivors of residential schools. And it's critical for those as especially settlers, colonizers, in ongoing learning, commemoration, and greater understanding. There'll be many events across Canada. Please take time to seek out opportunities in your community, virtually or in person, to learn about and reflect on this historical and ongoing impacts of colonization and the tremendous resiliency of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Also, wearing an orange shirt is one small way that we can acknowledge our investment in the work of healing and learning together. Rachel is going to share some links about learning, commemoration activities, and greater understanding around the truth and reconciliation work. Thank you, Rachel. Also, in the community of Vancouver, this coming Tuesday at the Van Dusen Botanical Gardens will be a talk on the fertile depths of ecological grief. This powerful dialogue will be led by Dr. Jason Brown, who's an SFU professor and multi-faith lead for the university's ecological chaplaincy pilot project. The cost is $20 and you can register either for event online or in person. Are there other announcements anybody else would like to share about things happening in our community? All right, there being none, but feel free to later add in the chat if something comes to mind. I'm going to invite us to begin with a morning prayer. So opening our hearts together in the sharing, especially today, focusing around the reflection of truth and reconciliation. I offer this prayer from Wendy McLean. Holy One, child of life, great spirit, we meet you here in the company of ancestors and the oft unnoticed presence of people praying throughout the world, connected by a longing for peace and healing. Find our hearts open and ready for reconciliation as we face the injustices of the past and long for the joy of a future of peace and healing. Help us to attend well to the stories we need to receive. Awaken our hearts with the stories of residential school survivors and their kin. Together we weep for the children then and now, for braids, beads, new moccasins, and the orange shirt taken away, leaving only the broken hearts. We pray for parents whose hearts were torn from them when their children were taken, for children whose tongues were silenced when they lost languages and names. Awaken our spirit, O God. Help us to hold the stories faithfully so that they may transform us and become part of us. May our prayers be translated into compassion, and may our amen be this truth. To all brothers and sisters and siblings, we receive your stories. May they lead us in wisdom, and may we journey together in love. Amen, and may it be so. And Rachel is going to lead us in the candle lighting prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorley. So for our candle lighting prayer today, I'm going to read an Ojibwe prayer from Ontario. Grandfather, look at our brokenness. We know that in all creation, only the human family has strayed from the sacred way. We know that we are the ones who are divided, and we are the ones who must come back together to walk in the sacred way. Grandfather, Sacred One, teach us love, compassion, and honor, that we may heal the earth and heal each other.
Thank you, Rachel. And now I'm going to invite all of us to greet one another with a sign of peace. Please unmute yourself and share in the sharing of peace this morning. Peace, everyone. It's so lovely to have you with us.
Peace to all.
Allow
Peace,
pa.
everyone.
Allow pa.
Peace, everyone.
Peace, everyone.
Peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Peace, everyone. Beautiful to see all of you here. Thank you.
Peace. Allow pa.
Thank you, friends. Now we'll have another song. Please keep yourselves muted as Bruce and Cheryl lead us. Thank you.
Wende ya, wende ya, wende ya, wende ya, ho 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 ho, hey oh, ya ya ya. Wende ya.
Thank you. Now, please join me in reading of our joint affirmation. We come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house, a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek, and let it begin here. Thank you. Now is the time when we take some moments to pray in our own homes and in our own ways for whatever is on your heart this morning. I'm carrying with me just the information about some of the radical environmental catastrophes happening across the planet. It's calm and beautiful in Vancouver. It's sometimes so hard to remember that the rest of the world is perhaps inflicted with some of the changes because of the climate catastrophes that we're kind of facing. So I just thinking heavily about that and praying for that, the impacts of colonization, impact humans, they impact animals, they impact the breathing ecosystem that is our earth. And I know that's what's weighing with me today as I think about truth and reconciliation, the work that needs to be done on many, many levels across our entire planet. So we'll just take a couple moments here to pray in silence. Thank you. May your prayers travel to the ears of the Creator. May it be so. Thank you. Now over to Bruce and Cheryl for a song. Please keep yourself muted, but feel free to join in from your homes. Thank you.
Here's your refrain. Sing it again. May your love be pure like an eagle, wisdom be under every stone you turn. Let truth be your key to freedom and bind you to the path that holds the light. We're the reason that there's 7 sins and teachings. Each one can wait the other out. Life is two wolves, good and evil, who you feeding? Tell me, are you in or are you out? Oh, be honest and honor each other. Don't make a promise that you'll have to break. Have forgiveness when there's only hatred. Stand up for good, for goodness sake. May your mind be vast like the ocean. Salvage the lesson from each storm you survive. Let honesty lead you across the sea, forever keep you on the current that carries a light. And in this world that's growing older faster, humility will keep your spirit young. When you're looking far into the future, don't forget how far you've already come. Here we go. Sing it again. May your strength be abundant, everlasting. Joy bring peace to your life. Surrender your heart to the 7 and keep to the path that holds the light. 'Cause in this world that's growing older faster, humility will keep your spirit young. When you're looking far into the future, don't forget how far you've already gone. Ooh, may your love be pure like an eagle, wisdom be under every stone you turn. Let truth be your key to freedom and bind you to the path that holds the light.
Thank you, Bruce and Cheryl. I love that song. That's so good. Thank you. Okay. Pause the recording. Well, we're trying out a new segment today in our service in which we invite people to share briefly about interfaith happenings in our world around us. So perhaps there are good news that we'd like to share and to spread the word of interfaith in the world. I think that our friend Paul G has some news to share first of all, and then we are welcome to open it up to others. We'll just take a couple minutes here to talk about interfaith in the world. Paul G, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share. I just thought I'll just share about the beautiful visit by His Holiness the Pope, who came to Asia, 4 countries to be exact, and Singapore was one of his stopovers. And why do I want to share this part is because among the themes that he brought up, the biggest one was not just human dignity, inclusiveness, family values, and the need to manage artificial intelligence, responsibility, and also care for the environment. But his main focus was a lot on religious dialogue, and this, of course, was so close to my heart as I do the work with the Living Interfaith Universities and all that. And part of our ministers also said it was so apt and timely because the theme was on unity and hope, and it's something I think the whole world needs it. And when he went to all the 4 countries in Asia, Indonesia being the largest Muslim country in the world, you will be very happy to know that he kept speaking a lot about harmony, and that was the harmony of people coming together to live together, to support each other. And I think we in this interfaith community are exactly doing that. So for me, this was a week that I think was so beautiful because he was talking so much about the positive inclusiveness, the engagement in constructive dialogue, and the whole idea was to bring about common good to prevent extremism and intolerance and all that from taking strength and endangering the whole social harmony among different people. And I think he also spoke a lot about mutual respect, cooperation, the dialogue, and the freedom that each one of us does have. And this was his lecture at the National University of Singapore, where he actually said, in the spirit of openness and mutual respect, we need to actually build a just and peaceful society, because the church has always promoted interreligious dialogue, cooperation between different faith communities. And that's where I thought the work that everyone in this community is doing is so beautiful with our interfaith activities that we do. And his other message that spurred up a lot of debate was that all religions are paths to God. And this among the interfaith community, even in Singapore, and also on an international level, I understand has been taken a little bit out of context, maybe about what he says, about what he said. But I think his part about, I encourage you to continue the work in favor of unity, fraternity of humanity, and the common good of all people and all nations. I think that should allow or motivate all of us in this community, our Living Interfaith Sanctuary, and you can say even with the university, to work together. And I like to go towards the ending where he actually gave a mass to 50,000 people in that's the biggest national stadium that we have. We couldn't put in more people. But in there also, he again mentioned that Singapore, although it's such a small dot, it's a shining example of how humanity can come together if we all learn to work together in harmony, have a sense of responsibility, inclusiveness, and so on. So he ended with the whole thing that Mr. President, that's the president of the country, who was also there, and among all the cabinet ministers, he said, I encourage you to continue the good work. And it was, I think, the next part that touches us more importantly, because we had an inter-religious dialogue, the interfaith among a lot of different communities that came together. And even there on the 2nd or 3rd day, he kept repeating his same message again and again, which I think is so relevant to what the work we are doing. And that's why that inter-religious dialogue, he said, is critical for navigating a divided and turbulent world. And he said, in order to have a meaningful, interfaith, interreligious dialogue among young people, it takes courage. And he was speaking to the young people there. But I think this courage is something that we can all learn from and also grow with that. So I end off with what the Minister Tong, who's our community development minister, said, that the only reason maybe Singapore has all these things that the Pope is sharing about is because we have laws, policies, structures that foster racial and religious harmony and allow people to gather in diversity. So the reason I share all this is because we are one of the world's most religiously diverse countries, I would say, in Singapore, and religion is a very important part. So I think what we can take away from his visit too is that dialogue, unity, fraternity, and social friendship is so much more needed today. It is so timely. And I end off with that last slide that says he ended his trip to Asia with the same message at the start, that interfaith tolerance to heal a troubled world is the way forward, because he said all religions are a path to arrive at God. They are like different languages to arrive there, but God is the God for all. So I think the work we are all doing, especially with our Living Interfaith Sanctuary and the university, our mission, our vision, and all the plans that we have will go a long time in helping build this, especially hearing it from the leader of the Catholic Church. It gave me a lot of I don't know, it gave me a lot of revitalization that the work we are doing is maybe on the right path at the right time. So I thought I'll share this so all of us get motivated to come together and do a lot more good things for the world as a whole. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share. Forgive me for any mistakes. Thank you, Chi.
Thank you, Palji. That is good news. That is, all religions are a path to God. How cutting edge this Pope. God is a God for all. I love it. Anybody else like to share briefly about interfaith happenings in their community, in their world? Connie, you mentioned at the beginning, I wondered if you wanted to just briefly talk about the event that's coming up that you're part of.
Well, it's really exciting. This is I had mentioned last time that the Canadian Armed Forces has set as a mandate to be multi-faith rather than just a single faith, and so they have been working to provide the spiritual care to and serve the needs of people of different faiths that work in the armed forces. So one of the senior chaplain at the base here in Comox and I are working together on hosting a multi-faith devotional gathering and conversation on interfaith collaboration. And so an invitation was extended to the leaders of the different faiths that are represented in the valley. And so we have, I mentioned already that we've got 27 people that have agreed to come. Now, just to give it a little bit of a perspective, before COVID, when I moved here, I tried to get together a similar type of gathering, and I could only get 8 people express some kind of minimal interest in doing that. But I think that because of the time has changed, the world has changed. As Palji was saying, that we absolutely need to learn how to collaborate, cooperate, work together, so that we break down these walls, these silos that have been built in the world that where there's so much division. So I'm really excited about this, us getting together, and about the conversation that will take place. And I hope it leads to a group being formed where we can collaborate on social issues that are common in the valley amongst the different religious groups. So I'll keep you posted.
That's great, Connie. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, that is good news. So let's hold that and uplift that. Change, as you said, Connie. Times are changing. So, okay. Next up is a time, just a reflection of and sharing of our wealth. We're so grateful to everyone who contributed to our community over last months, years. Our small budget helps pay for our staff and musicians and speakers, our online presence. And as always, we cannot do that without one another. So the link is coming here in our chat if you'd like to donate, and Bruce and Cheryl will lead us in a song. Please remain muted, but sing from your home as desired.
receive, to you I give. Together we share, and with this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Thank you. Now it's my honor to introduce today's speaker, Bruce Allan, a member of the Stellat'en First Nation, to bring us teachings in honor of Canada's National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Bruce is here to share some of his wisdom and knowledge as a survivor of the Lejac Indian Residential School near Fraser Lake, of which he's an intergenerational survivor, as his grandmother and father attended the same school. Bruce is an educator, has worked with survivors of residential schools since the year 2000. He teaches social workers, nurses, and teachers at the College of New Caledonia in Prince George, and has participated in many truth and reconciliation hearings throughout BC and Canada. A resolution health worker and elder with the Indian Residential School Survivor Society, Bruce has recently begun to work more closely with intergenerational survivors. Welcome, Bruce. We are so honored to have you with us today. Thank you, and I turn it over to you.
Okay. Howdy, good morning. I come from the Stellat'en First Nation. I belong to the Beaver Clan. We're heading out to a ceremony in my community to commemorate 5 individuals who passed away from the in the last few years, including COVID. And so we're doing a kind of a let and go ceremony for those individuals. And I think the majority of them are attended the Lejac Indian Residential School. And I think from this group, I think you probably have a lot of the background of the origins of the residential schools through the Indian Act, through colonization, through the doctrine of discovery that was created by the Catholic Church. Lejac was run by the Catholic Church, priests and nuns and brothers. Before I go further, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm on the Stellat'en traditional territory that's around Prince George. We have always known it as Stellat'en for thousands of years, or since time immemorial. Prince George is the name that was given to it recently, about 100 years ago, maybe. So its colonial name was Fort George, Prince George. And a lot of our Indigenous people are calling the places their traditional names that the land names itself. We don't name it after people, or like you've got place names that are named after explorers and things like that. So where I come from is Natley Bun. Natley Bun means the lake where the salmon return. The Europeans changed the name to Fraser Lake after Simon Fraser. Simon Fraser was in our territory about 200 years ago and could not have survived without the people from Natley. Back then, we really had winters, -60, -70 would be the norm for the winters. And he was able to survive because Natley people helped him. Without the Natley people, there would have been no Fraser Lake, no Simon Fraser, University, no Fraser River, all of those names. Fraser River in our language is Taco, meaning many rivers join together. So a little bit of my history. Education-wise, I attended Lejac and I graduated from the local public high school in 1979. I attended the College of New Caledonia where I teach briefly, and then I went on to get a bachelor's degree from UBC in Vancouver, and then I got a master's degree from Gonzaga University in Washington State. But a lot of my experiences have been around working with survivors who were seeking compensation for their attendance of residential school. So I would have to sit with survivors who would tell their stories to the Canadian government. And in order to seek compensation, they had to include a lot of detail, meaning they had to relive their traumas that they went through. So I've sat probably 250 to 300 hearings. I've heard thousands of stories from survivors from across the country. Some really heart-wrenching stories that came after Kamloops found a 215. I manned a crisis line and got calls from across the country, and survivors were brave enough to share their stories. And it is quite horrific, the things that went on. The one lady out of Quebec described being raised in a convent. Convent's supposed to be a place where nuns reside, Catholic nuns. And in this case, she didn't describe it as a resident. She described it as a brothel for the priests and brothers. They and the nuns would set up young children for them at this site. So that's one of the things. I mean, reconciliation is learning about those things. Reconciliation is learning the truth of our survivors who are here today. One survivor shared with me a story of something that's called the shoebox babies. This is where she witnessed, other girls witnessed, and the girls that got pregnant from the priest, and if they were to go full term, they knew exactly what would happen. What would happen is that after the baby was born, the baby was taken by the priest and nuns, and she would witness the priest and the nuns going out into the field with a shoebox. So the baby was put in a shoebox, and they would dig a shallow grave and they would put the baby in the grave. So to me, reconciliation is learning those hard truths. And, you need to hear the truth before you can reconcile. And how do we as Canadians reconcile for those atrocities, without knowing the truth? And many people have their truths being told. And many people, our people in our area are doing a search at the school that I attended. We're doing a search. We did ground penetrating radar and magnetometry, so we will probably have numbers of anomalies. Ground penetrating radar is not a bone detector, so anomalies meaning that there is possibly a grave underneath these kind of readings that they find. And we don't know the numbers yet, but when we're ready to do a press release, then we'll find out what the numbers are. Williams Lake has a video called Sugarcane, that's a new documentary that's coming out. I encourage everybody to watch that. Bones of Crows is a movie that was put out by one of the local ladies from here in Prince George. She was raised here in Prince George and has done movies in Hollywood. And her name is Grace Dove. So what I do is teach and I inform students. A lot of them in the past few years did not hear about residential schools until I talked to them. But it's getting better now. Some of the students that I get from in the college come from the high schools and they say, yeah, we touched on residential schools. My own experience with my dad, he did a lot of drinking. He never spoke of the schools. He went to Lejac and he went to Kamloops. He graduated in 54. And so probably around the times he was there, there were children being buried on the grounds there. Never spoke of his experiences, never shared, so I didn't really hear about what he went through. He passed away from drinking. His usual weekend activity was on Friday. He would go to the bar in Fraser Lake and then he would drink all weekend. But when he passed away, he went to the bar, started to walk home, which is 5 kilometers away. And he had only gotten halfway, exactly halfway, and a pickup truck didn't see him on the road because of oncoming traffic and struck and killed him. That was back in 1979, March 17th. And for myself, I've done a lot of work on myself. Even though I did go to the residential school, I was not like my dad or my grandmother. The residential school is only 10 kilometers away from my home. So they would pick us up in a bus, school bus, and they would drop us off at the school. And then we would get on the bus and go home at 3 o'clock. But my dad's story, I heard his story through people he went to school with at Lejac, and they shared the horrific, brutal physical and sexual assaults that they endured. And I knew my dad was not immune to that. He went through the same thing. And he helped me a lot because even though he didn't talk about Lejac, he brought me there to talk to the supervisors that were supervising me. And the main one he talked to was Ed Fitzgerald. Ed Fitzgerald is a notorious pedophile. He took care of boys between 5 and 8 years old. And my dad took me straight to him and said, "This is my son." And I went off to play, and then after that, Ed Fitzgerald never crossed my path. However, a lot of people that I went to school with, they were raped by him. They were sexually abused by him. And he left me alone because I think my dad threatened to shoot him or something if he touched me. So my dad knew what was going on, knew that these things were going on, and he was making sure that his kids weren't subjected to any of that. My own experiences at the school, very early on would be, I think, the grade 2 teacher. She was a nun, Sister Mary Patrick. In hindsight and in stories from other students, would describe her as a very bad pedophile. And my cousin, who was in Lejac a year ahead of me, so he was in grade 2 already when I started. And then when I got to grade 2, he was still in grade 2. I left the school and went to a different school in grade 3, and he was still in grade 2. So he suffered at her hands for 3 years, being sexually abused. So, we have lots of stories like these that are not public. It's really hard to get survivors to really come out and say what happened to them. You'll see evidence of it if you go to the National Center of Truth and Reconciliation website. They do have, if you're going to do research, they do have the TRC hearings recorded, the public hearings, and they last anywhere from 2 to 3 days, and all of it is survivors describing what happened to them. They also had private recordings that would last 2 hours. They had lots of time you could tell your story. But there's many books, there's many many movies. National Film Board has We Were Children. That's a really good one. Indian Horse is another one that describes the residential school experience. Bones of Crows, I mentioned. The documentary Sugar Cane is going to be a very powerful one that's going to be released. And I think, all of this goes to Orange Shirt Day. And I'm really glad that you're using orange shirts and you're going to participate on that day, September 30th. There's other class actions that are happening that are the Indian Residential School Survivor Society support. They've done Indian Day schools, and they've done Indian Residential Schools Day Scholars. That's over and past, but Indian Hospitals is up and coming. A couple of days ago, you might have watched the Canadian Medical Association apologize for the treatment of Indigenous people. They described the racism, and when they first created Indian hospitals, I know the hospital I was born in had an Indian side and a white side in Vanderhoof. And so these are, things that I remember and have experience with. Speaking of the Pope, yeah, I did see him in Edmonton, and a lot of our people really are indoctrinated with the Catholic dogma. I'm not. I don't follow the Catholic faith, even though I was born into it. I don't acknowledge it as being legitimate for me because of what happened to my father and my grandmother and many people, and at the hands of people like the Pope. And so I don't follow that. I do follow traditional practices that are not a religion. I participated in sweat lodges and a fasting ceremony. And the fasting ceremony was a spiritual ceremony where we get a lot of healing, we get a lot of visions for healing. And I fasted. The reason I fasted, and I told the medicine man that was hosting the fast, was that I wanted to fast to be able to have the strength to work with survivors and hear their stories without any repercussions of anger and sadness. And because those stories are not mine, those belong to the survivors, but I learned from it, and I healed, and I continue to work with survivors. And I will continue until, I know through education is what's going to help us out, because that was education that is what got us into it in the first place. Those are the words of Murray Sinclair, who was the chairperson of the Truth and Reconciliation. So, just go out and learn about the local experiences of survivors. In the Lower Mainland, the school would be St. Mary's in Mission, BC. I attended the only one-day attendance at St. Mary's in Vancouver was I stayed there overnight on my way back from Spokane, Washington. We attended a World's Fair in 1974. And I stayed overnight in Kamloops on our way to Spokane, Washington. So, I got to see the city of Seattle before I even set foot in Vancouver, which was kind of neat. For myself, healing came through the sweat lodge and attending sweat lodges, but also on the anniversary of my dad's passing. He passed away on March 17th, 1979. So on March 17th, 2000, I chose to stop using alcohol. So that's 24 and a half years ago now, going on 25 years. But so rather than an anniversary of my dad's passing, I make it a positive anniversary where I've stopped using alcohol. And so that's my children today have never seen me use alcohol or drugs. And my oldest son would be the only one that witnessed all of that, but he does not use alcohol or drugs either, because that's what he chose to do. Because of what he's seen, he said, nope, I don't need that in my life. Other than that, our people are resilient. There's lots of hope with the young people. They're going to school, they're getting educated, but we're losing a lot more young people as well because of the opioids and suicides and things like that. But we do have doctors, we have lawyers, social workers, teachers that are coming out. And in our population, we have four medical doctors. We have 4 medical doctors in the last 20 years. So that's pretty neat. And I'll stop right there. And if you have any questions and maybe comments, I can go for an hour and a half. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you so much. And thank you for conveying the importance of listening this to the stories of survivors as our Indigenous siblings. You know, I just feel like for those of us, you know, the work of our time right now and the commitment to reconciliation is for those of us to learn to carry the weight of those stories alongside the survivors is in solidarity, you know, moving towards true healing for generations to come. Thank you. Let us join together in one more song, and then I'll end the service with a closing prayer. And after that, anyone who'd like to stay is welcome for a brief discussion with Bruce if you're able to do so. Perhaps you could answer questions for people that might have for you as well. But thank you. Over to you, Bruce and Cheryl.
We are all one people. We all come from one creation, way on high. We are all one nation, under one great sky, you and I. We are all one people. We are all one color in her eyes. Next slide. Way, way, hey, people. We all come from one creation, way on high. We are all one nation, under one great sky, you and I. We are all one people. We are all one color in his eyes. Way ah, hey, ah, way ah, hey, ah, way ah, way ah, way ah, way oh, way, way hey ah, hey ah, way ah, hey ah, hey ah, way ah, hey ah, way oh, way, way ah, yeah, hey, way ah, way ah, hey ah, way ah, oh, hey, way ah, yeah, oh, hey oh, hey, yeah, hey, yo. We are all one people. We are all one nation. We are all one color if we try.
Indeed. Thank you, Bruce and Cheryl. And now a final prayer, my friends, please join with me. Holy Creator, thank you for resiliency. Thank you for the possibility of learning to become better. Thank you for the opportunity to learn old names, to speak them with joy, to hear the past stories of pain and hold them with compassion, and to lean into the future with the capacity to carry so much. Help guide us towards action and healing of the deepest wounds. We ask you, Creator, to hold us as we navigate paths unknown, helping our children along, our grandchildren along, as healing unfolds before us. May it be so. Thank you.